We are back with our special guest. He is State Senator Peter Lucido. He served 2 terms in the state house. He is a Republican from Shelby Township in Macomb County. Senator Lucido, welcome to the Political Insider.
How you doing, Bill? And I'm going to welcome all the listeners because I love to listen to you and hear the listeners' voices. So let's get it rolling.
I think they're more interested in listening to you than me. But let me start out by just asking you about a press conference I think you had about 10 days ago with State Senator Sylvia Santana, a Democrat from Detroit, about raising the age of legal adulthood within the courts, within the state's court system, establishing 17-year-olds as minors in most instances. Could you explain what this is all about and what's going on and what is the likelihood you can get it passed?
Well, let me tell you what's going on. Number one, we're one of 4 states in the union that still charges 17-year-olds as adults. So 46 states either got this right or we've got it wrong. Take your pick. As a result, these 4 states feel that it's necessary to continue to charge a 17-year-old as an adult, although the 17-year-old, number one, can't vote until they're 18. Number 2, they can't serve on a jury. Number 3, they can't even enlist in the military. I can go on and on and on. They can't even enter into a legal binding contract. So when you charge a 17-year-old as an adult, you are going against the face of what the family court, which was set up about a decade ago, that said a child is entitled to child support until the child turns 18, graduates from high school but not beyond 19 and a half, which means they're still treating in the family court, which is a division of where children are taken care of. 18, they consider them to be adults at that point. Now, we've got a diversion here of why we are charging 17-year-olds with crimes. If you want to stop the recidivism rate, which means the repeat offending rate, you better look at the services that are available for children versus adults. There is no services when you're sitting in prison that are readily available, but there's a ton of services to give to children in the juvenile system to rehabilitate and make them very sensitive to maybe their actions, as well as get them to a point where they are sorry for their wrong and will make them productive members of society. There is an overwhelming, drastic charge to get this done for this reason. A child's brain doesn't fully develop until their 25th birthday, some as much as 28. So why are we doing this? I think it's just archaic, it's out of control, and we've just been doing it over and over again. And anybody in the judicial system is going to say we should rehabilitate in the onset rather than put a guppy in a shark tank, putting a child at 17 in prison with a bunch of adults. Now, all that being said, we can still waive the child, and we left the prosecution exclusive authority to bring its waiver. So you can charge a 12, 14, a 16, whatever. You can charge an 8-year-old with an adult crime, and the judge approves of it. So we didn't take away that right. So those listeners should hear they still have the ability to charge a very heinous crime committed by a juvenile as an adult. It's just routinely, don't be charging 17-year-olds over and over again because you can.
What are chances for passage?
I think real good this term, and I'll tell you why. We got it out of the House when I served in the House, and now we got those same House members in the Senate. So they've elevated themselves into the Senate. There's an overwhelming majority that are standing behind this. It's a bipartisan package, which means it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit on. It does matter, though, the people that you serve, and those are the families of those youths.
Yeah, you have really big responsibilities in the Senate. You're chairman of Judiciary Committee. You're also chairman of a new committee called Advice and Consent, and you're doing something that hasn't been done for a long time in the Senate consistently. You're having nominees of Governor Whitmer come in and be fly-specked, so to speak, checked out, ask questions by members of the Advice and Consent Committee. What have you seen so far?
Well, number one, this is a constitutionally protected committee. Every governor that goes into office has his or her prerogative of who they want as their directors. And those directors are actually setting into motion things that need to be delivered to the taxpayers of the state, which is services and benefits, that which their tax dollars are paying. Give you, for instance, DHHS, Department of Health and Human Services. She put a gentleman in there, Mr. Gordon, and Mr. Gordon, he never really lived in the state. So what we do is we vet out those individuals because that DHHS delivers health and human services to the most vulnerable, the most needy, children, adults. This is a $26 billion budget that this man is controlling. So these questions that are asked are you uniquely qualified to handle this position? Well, you're not going to find a person that has handled this kind of budget right off the streets, but at the same time, do we have the expertise, the knowledge, the skill? Do we know what Michigan's all about? Do we have your attention as to mental health here in the state? So this committee that I chair is a necessary committee to make sure that if this person or people that are put in these directorships that are running these departments, and in this case a $26 billion department, are not uniquely qualified, don't have the skill set nor the capacity to understand Michigan, I don't think they should be in that position, and I don't want them there because it's going to be counterproductive for the taxpayers, and it may even infringe upon hurtfulness to those individuals that need those services.
Senator Peter Lucido, we are talking about Advice and Consent Committee. What about Department of Natural Resources?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, we're talking about, an economic driver here with resources that we have, the hunting, the fishing, the mining, all these, industries that we, look to and put a spotlight on to go ahead and bring in dollars and feed families. And we don't want people that are going to have a massive amount of rules and regulations to, try to inhibit somebody from going into these businesses and or continuing these businesses in the state. We also have the Department of Environmental Quality. And Bill, you see, Liesl Clark, her name is, she was put in there, and we've expanded that department to include energy and Great Lakes. I mean, now we've got an expansion on that department, and we just finished up her hearing, and we are looking at this department too big now? Is it going to deliver the services that it needs to? Does it have too many, duties and responsibilities? Are you going to now compete with the Great Lakes, the fresh water versus energy that's flowing through it through pipeline number 5? I mean, these are things that are going to conflict with one another, and are they able to balance the policy of the state and the needs of society? These are good questions that this committee has been taken on and challenged with.
Okay, we're going to come back with Senator Peter Lucido. So much more to talk about in just a minute. We got to take a short break. Stay tuned.
You're listening to The Political Insider with Bill Ballenger on MTN. Here's Bill.
We have returned with our special guest. He is State Senator Peter Lucido, Republican of Shelby Township in Macomb County, chairman of several key committees in the state Senate. Also the sponsor, back when he was in the House, of civil asset forfeiture legislation, which he got passed through the House and sent over to the Senate in the last session of the legislature, the 99th legislature last year, and then it sat in the Senate. And now he's in the Senate himself, and he's gotten civil asset forfeiture out of the Senate and sent to the House. But in the meantime, just this week, on a vote of big 107-3 bipartisan, they passed their own version of civil asset forfeiture, sent it to the Senate. So each chamber, as I understand it, you can correct me, Senator, have passed their own version. And I'm wondering if this is going to become another political football or whether you're going to be able to get this done. What can you tell us?
We're going to get it done this time, Bill. And rightfully so. This has been long overdue. It's been my first and only initiative that I put the first bill in each and every term that I served in the House. It was my number ones all the time because I saw after practicing over 30 years there was an injustice. I mean, due process meant due process when I went to law school, and it should be today. You don't take away people's rights by taking their property and selling it off before you've had their day in court. This was something optically wrong. It infringed upon people who were poor. They didn't have access to justice. You've taken people's property now and made a presumption as a police officer or law enforcement that, they did something wrong right out of the gate without any committal of a detached, neutral person, such as a judge who's elected by the people or jurors that are independent. It just doesn't look right. And on top of it, they were stuffing their budgets with millions of dollars. And most of these individuals, it was not the big dollar amounts. It was smaller amounts, less than, $5,000, and it starts adding up. In 2016, it was $18.3 million. I will repeat that, $18.3 million that was taken in from law enforcement on civil asset forfeiture for the state. And 2017, it was about 13.5. We need to stop this, and the reason why is if the person is profiting from criminal activity, then I have no use for that person, and they should lose everything because criminals are criminals, and profiting from that should not be allowed. However, until you've made the determination that they're actually guilty of something, don't they have a vested property right that says innocent until proven guilty? And that's been the hallmark of our justice system. I've been fighting this battle through and through. I've worked with all the stakeholders, which was law enforcement, prosecutors. I said there is no easy way except this. We've moved up the standard of proof, which is from preponderance to clear and convincing. We've taken away the bond requirement. So we've chipped away at everything. But the last and the real essence of civil asset forfeiture is don't sell my stuff unless and until you've charged me, let alone found me guilty. They were taking stuff before anybody was even charged. And sometimes they never were charged and they forfeited their property. That is wrong. Until there's been a criminal conviction is the bill that I have. You should not be entitled to sell my property.
Two questions. Doesn't a lot of this activity involve drugs? And secondly, what is the difference really between the House and Senate versions? And can those differences be resolved?
So under the Public Health Code, to answer your question about drugs, yes, it involves drugs, but it also involves other outside things than drugs. So the Public Health Code is the one I want to modify because that's where the mainstay of the property. There's also if there is a nuisance and everything else. I don't want to get into that. I'll tell you why. There's some value about forfeiting property when somebody's committing nuisance, but we don't have time for that today to discuss that topic. And the second thing is the diversion of the two bills. What is the diversity between the two bills? Mainly they're the same. They really are. It's the introduced version that I have that the House went ahead and had as their number one bill, 4001 it's called. 4002, though, says a little bit different, and that's a bipartisan package again in the House. But for the main purpose of today's discussion, they're mainly the same. The threshold is $50,000 or more, and I looked at that from other states that are around the country that have a forfeiture in place that says nobody should profit. I can tell you this, Bill, after 30 years of going to court, some of the things that were taken out of houses and or forfeited were children's toys and property, dartboards, piggy banks with $2.56 in it. It's enough. It's time to stop it, and it's time to get back to what's called common sense reform.
Let's talk about pension tax repeal. This week, as you know, the House reported out of committee by a big vote, 14-1, I think it was, very bipartisan, a bill to repeal the so-called pension tax that has been in effect since 2011. It's been a very unpopular tax. And this particular bill in the House has been sent to another House committee because they've got a two-tier House committee system now instituted for the first time. So it's not out on the House floor yet. I know the Senate also has legislation you're considering on this. And the estimate this week was that if you repeal the entire pension tax as it exists right now in fiscal year 2020, it would cost the state $384 million. In the following fiscal year, 2021, it would cost $349 million. So let me ask you, what is the pension tax? Maybe just define it for our listeners better than I have, and tell me what's going on there.
Yeah, so there's different types of pensions that individuals have. They have 401k, they have 527s, they have conventional pensions, and as a result of the tax, it is taxed on the funds that are coming to the individuals that are already in retirement or in pay status. I want to make sure that everybody knows that should have never been done. Actually, when you go to a financial planner and you sit there and you talk to a financial planner and say, can I retire? Yes, you can. Based on your check and based upon your other investments, you have ability to have so much a month that you'll need to live on. They didn't see the pension tax coming, nor could they even reasonably infer that this was going to happen. When it did, it brought less dollars to the individuals that were already in retirement and pay status, and as a result, it kind of hurt them. So now, when this governor, our governor, went ahead and made the statement, I want to repeal the pension tax. I want to get this done for those individuals. I want to fix the damn roads. I want to go ahead and give free college tuition for community colleges. All these are sounding really good, but when you don't have any money to backfill to pay for the services that we really need, I don't know how this is going to get done. And when you make those statements and take it away, you got to cut somewhere else. When you let air out of a balloon somewhere, somebody's got to pump air in at another place to keep the balloon floating. And I just don't see it. And I hope that discussion, because I know from Treasury, our former Senator Steve Beta was over there saying, hey, we can have this discussion. Well, these guys are taking it on in the House saying, discussion, nothing. We're voting this out. This is what our governor said. Let's get it done. I got to tell you, it's like a teeter-totter. Somebody's going up and somebody's going down. In this case, it's money. Money's going up. Nope, it's actually all coming down.
Well, do you think maybe Governor Whitmer is going to come out on Tuesday with her budget and say, you know what, I'm for pension tax repeal, but maybe we got to phase it out a little bit. Maybe we can't do it all at once. And maybe the House and Senate will say, no, you promised to get rid of it. We want to get rid of it in one fell swoop all at once, and we're going to pass a bill and send it to you. What if she then says, well, I got to veto this? Then what?
I think then she's got to take the podium and she's got to come clean as to what the heck she meant when she was trying to get elected here, and actually did. She made very clear decisions about what she was saying. I will, not I won't, I will phase out the pension tax. Phase out? I never heard the word phase. I'll get rid of it. I'll eliminate it.
Listen, I'd love to keep talking. We could keep going for hours here, but unfortunately we're out of time. But I want to thank you, State Senator Peter Lucido from Shelby Township in Macomb County. Thank you, Senator.
You're welcome, Bill. It's great to talk to you always, and have a great week for your listeners.
Absolutely. We'll do it again. Thank you.